Hello YouTube, in this video I'm going to give you guys a complete beginner's guide to Deadside. I have roughly 2,300 hours and counting, and I have no life to the game the last few years, so I feel pretty qualified. With this big update, I figured there would be a lot of new people, so I thought this would be a great video to post now. So to start, what is Deadside? According to the Steam description, Deadside is an open world survival shooter blending hardcore PvP and PvE action. Secure precious loot in safe zones or build your own fortress in the wild, with intense gunfights and stunning visuals, blah blah blah. I mostly agree with this, but there's one thing to keep in mind. The survival mechanics of Deadside are minimal. If you want a game where surviving is difficult, this isn't really that. You have to eat food and water, which is super easy, and that's about where the survival mechanics end. In Deadside, you do missions to get good loot, and you fight other players at the same time. You can build a base and raid other people's bases. Let's talk about surviving once you spawn. To find food, you can loot canned food almost anywhere, and you can also hunt ducks and you can hunt deer. Ducks can be found along the edge of water where there are reeds, and deer are all over the place. Once you get some, you can cut them up with a knife, and you can also use your knife to get some branches to start a fire and cook up the meat. To find water, you can find sodas all over the map along with refillable water bottles and flasks. The bottles and flasks can be filled up infinitely at wells like this. If you can't find food or water, you can always hit escape and then suicide and come right back to your body to automatically get 50 food and water. Now that you have food and water, we can get some gear. Something very important you're going to need are sleeping bags. Sleeping bags allow you to respawn at specific places of your choosing all over the map, rather than being forced to spawn in the newbie zone every time you die. To craft a sleeping bag, you will need 10 rags. You can get rags easily by tearing up all the clothes you can find. Now that you have a couple sleeping bags, you can start doing missions for loot. There are 4 different level missions: easy, medium, hard, and epic, each being more difficult and giving more rewards. There are also some special missions: the convoy, the helicopter crashes, and the airdrops. There is also a wandering trader that you can trade with instead of the safe zone traders. The convoy has a large group of AI, and one of them is the convoy boss. He will have good gear for you to take, and he will also drop a case. The case has a large yellow circle around it on the map. This will alert all other players to where you are. If you take the case to a safe zone trader or a wandering trader, you can open it for high tier attachments and some other items. The helicopter crashes are fairly easy and have a small amount of AI. The loot in helis includes repair kits, explosives, and red keys, which are used to open locked crates for skinned weapons. Airdrops are exactly what they sound like. An airdrop comes from the sky and you can loot it. These aren't very good and usually give you a not so great gun and some ammo. If you're new, easy missions are a good way to start the game and learn how missions work, so we're going to do one of those. They don't take long and don't offer much reward. After that, we're going to head to the safe zone. Early on, you will find that scrap metal is one of the most important resources in the game, similar to Rust. In Deadside, you will need to turn in scrap metal to the safe zone traders to unlock better items, weapons, and ammo. At reputation level 0, you can't buy much at all. Scrap metal will also be used in late game base building because you'll need it to craft sheet metal. You can find scrap all over the map, along roads, and especially in these large piles of scrap on the ground that can be looted. You can also turn in watches and cigarettes for 10 reputation each at wandering traders, so always loot these two items. You can hold a decent amount of gear in your safe zone in Deadside, which is why building a base is completely optional. The main reason for building a base is storage. All you really need in your safe zone is some gear, weapons and armor, and money so you can buy ammo and meds, so having a base isn't completely necessary. If you are hellbent on building a base, then here's all the basic information you need to know. In most servers, you can be raided at any time, even if you're offline. When you first start your base, it will be made out of twigs. You will need to put logs into a wood planer to get wooden planks. You'll use these and nails to upgrade your walls to wood. From there, it can be upgraded into metal by using sheet metal and rebars. The best way to get sheet metal is by putting scrap metal into a metal planer. Both planers require a generator with gasoline to be running to power them. You can craft code locks to place on all of your doors and on your loot boxes so that it will require more explosives for raiders to get to your loot. When you place down a resource vault, you will have to place resources into it to keep your base from despawning, which is called your base upkeep. The resource vault is also used to control who has access to the base, so keep it protected from raiders. Depending on the tier of your walls in your base and the general size of your base, it will cost more or less resources for base upkeep. There are also advanced base distance systems, such as cameras, turrets, and tripwires. That's all of the building information I'm going to put in this video, but I plan on making an in-depth building guide later, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, ask questions in the comments, and I guarantee I will answer them. There are 4 different types of vehicles currently in Deadside. There's a large fan boat that seats many players, a smaller boat that is a little faster and carries 2 players, and the new motorcycles and cars. You can put a lock on vehicles so only you can use them and only you have access to the storage inside them. Vehicles can be damaged and will blow up. Vehicles will despawn if a player does not come within render of them for 30 minutes. If you want to keep a vehicle, it will have to stay inside of your base radius, and your base will have to have upkeep in the mechanic workbench, or your vehicle will despawn. Okay, now that you've started off, you can do some higher tier missions to get some decent weapons and armor. The most fun you can have in Deadside is in the PvP side of things, in my opinion. I love putting together a good kit and going and looking for players to fight and raid. But in Deadside, that's not your only option. You can play Deadside however you want. Maybe you want to avoid PvP and play a PvE server. Maybe you want to focus on getting rich rather than fighting. Maybe you just want to troll people. I think I've covered the basics of Deadside in this video, but like I said earlier, I'm going to make several more in-depth guides for things like base building, PvPing, getting rich, scrap, raiding, etc. If you haven't bought the game already, I highly recommend you do. In the years I've played it, I found no other game that scratches the same itch in my brain that Deadside does. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.